Join us as we spend a week exploring Tokyo for the first time, with plenty of opportunities to learn about Japanese history and culture along the way. Starting out in the Shinjuku Gyoen National Garden right outside our hostel, we escaped the chilly January air and entered an oasis of jungle and desert flora inside their massive greenhouse.
Here we have nature in a bottle. Choice, put, open, return. I'm going to choose Fuji National Park. Open. Mount Fuji. Beautiful. Now look at this. We shall unveil the magic.
That's funny.
This was so cool. What an adventure.
There's so many of them. Outside, we admired the famous row of plane trees formal garden. The native platanus trees in the Shinjuku National Garden are more than 100 years old. The palm trees, which are not native to Japan, were highly prized gifts when the garden opened to the public in 1949. After admiring the ducks, we walked to Meiji-jingu Shrine where we passed by the kazari-daru, gifts of ritual sake from prominent sake houses used in Shinto purification rituals. Say hey! We then walked to Omotesando and ate at Tonkatsu Maisen Aoyama. The restaurant was opened in 1965 in an old bank, and its building retains its character from the Showa era. Their motto is soft tonkatsu that can be cut with chopsticks. The famous Takeshita Street in downtown Harajuku is known for its fun snacks and funky secondhand stores, with plenty of modern options sprinkled in for good measure.
Gift.
Yeah, perfect.
Right there.
I'm sure he'd love it.
It would keep his nose warm in the cold days.
I'm penchant to this. We admired the colorful and offbeat fashion and the more unusual accessories. We also looked at their surplus of adorable neko or cat-themed items, which dominate tourist shops and craft stores throughout Japan. Yeah. Takeshita Street is also famous for its capsule stores called gashapon. Gashapon have rows of tiny vending machines with trinkets ranging from tiny gummy mushrooms to traffic cones and doll wigs to model apartment complexes.
Interesting guys over there who are connected by the nose.
We were terrified of buying souvenirs since we would be backpacking through the Nagasendo Trail later in the trip, but we saw this adorable cat purse and could not resist.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Let's see what we get. Is it going to be prize number 1? Or the cat purse hanging dangly thing?
Oh,
or that kind of bag. Surprise!
Not sure. Let's find out. Oh, it's stuck with a little bit of tape.
A hole. Ooh. Oh, it's teensy teensy.
It's so cute. Okay. Hold that.
What did we get? Oh, it's a little hanger thing.
Little tiny coin purse.
Oh, how cute.
That purse ended up being the perfect companion, as Japanese coins go up to 500 yen, which is about $5. The empty capsules are returned to the store to be restocked with new gachas while giving you a chance to win a prize.
I guess we don't really have any control, so let's see where it goes.
We win! What did we get? Nothing!
I don't know.
Even though we won the game, we never figured out how to claim our prize, and the gashapon don't have employees, so we moved on to explore a local cemetery. The wood planks are called sotoba and contain prayers in the Buddhist name of the deceased. As long as you're respectful, Japanese cemeteries are open to the public, and we always donated a few dollars to maintenance and upkeep at the nearby shrine. That night, we went to Omoide Yokocho, a famous street food market that roughly translates to Memory Lane. Opened 5 days after World War II ended, the area was originally named Shuyuben Yokocho, or Piss Alley, back when it served frogs, turtles, and salamanders to the overflow of soldiers and families who had been burned out of their homes during the war. The izakayas are small, the area is smoky, and the path through the market is narrow and winding. The next morning, we strolled through Kabukicho in Shinjuku. After a bombing raid razed the area in the late 1940s, Kabukicho was originally planned to feature a kabuki theater. While the theater was never built, the area has plenty of video arcades, discos, and hotels. We wanted to take a trip out of the city, but Mount Fuji was closed to hikers and visitors until July. With that in mind, we made a day trip to go see it from Lake Ashi. The trip requires taking a rapid train to Odawara, followed by a ride on the Hakone Tozan Railway, which winds up the mountainside through a series of 3 switchbacks. Before embarking on the final leg of our journey, we stopped by Gora Brewery, which was totally empty. We sampled beer made from local Hakone spring water and ate some dishes by famous chef and restaurateur Matsuhishi Nobu, including a delicious venison kebab. The brewery was built around a 300-year-old tree and a hot spring, which we stopped to enjoy before setting out for Lake Ashi. A few minutes later, we were waiting to transfer to a cable car headed to Sunzan. The whole village takes these vertical cable cars to get further up the steep mountain. After 5 different methods of transportation, we finally made it to the Hakone Ropeway. Once we were in the air, we got our first glimpse of the volcanic vents of Odawakunari, or the Great Boiling Valley. As the entire area of Hakone is a live volcano, it smelled heavily of sulfur. You can even eat eggs cooked in the hot sulfur springs. Mount Fuji, Japan's most famous mountain, was finally in sight, and it was beautiful. Seeing Lake Ashi in sunset was even better, and we ended up being the last gondola allowed back down the mountain. We ate at a yakiniku place called Don Don, where they let you grill your own meats on a tiny center grill while club music plays in the background.
Hoppy. Oh, it literally is a hoppy beer.
Alright. Mix it up. Let's see you. Oh. Just one more.
Because I'm not.
Look at his face. The face of satisfaction. Okay. Ah.
It says the color of the yolk is related to the inside.
Our hostel for the night was called Book Bed Tokyo, which had us sleeping in and amongst bookshelves full of interesting and vintage Japanese books and manga of all kinds. We can't speak Japanese, so couldn't read the books, but still had a blast looking through the photography.
What is that?
Tokyo 1970.
Interesting.
Okay.
Kyle, what do you have here? Possibly?
Some amount of, I think it's mint chocolate chip.
Hoping.
It's
But you
got
just
mint
never
leaf
know.
on top of it.
And
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
A
quite
mochi custard fish.
Oh yeah, that's good.
The next morning, we ate an entirely black-themed breakfast from the hotel's breakfast bar, doodled, and got some work done as we enjoyed the views of surrounding Shinjuku. We took a few photos of the very aesthetic space and headed off for second breakfast at the local Krispy Kreme, my brother's absolute favorite place.
Well,
What I'm trying to.
I know, but like.
Like, you don't have to. What is he doing?
We tried to visit a new Tokyo district every day of our stay. Today's district, Asakusa, is known for its historic architecture, ancient temples, and signature landmark, the Kanamarinmon Gate. Built more than 1,000 years ago, the Kanamarinmon Gate, which I'm probably mispronouncing, leads to a bustling market where street vendors sell tasty pastries and souvenirs. We watched from afar as they filled ancient cast-iron molds with batter to make ningyoyaki, little sponge cakes filled with red bean paste that are baked over an open fire.
And then he puts the little batter
It's
in.
like pancake batter. And then you put, yeah. Oh, yes, please go. I could use more.
Kyle has got his filming set up, filming me, filming him. Got my Azuki red bean paste cake. story of Sensoji Temple goes back to 628 AD, when two brothers called Hinokuma Hamanari and Hinokuma Takanari went fishing in the Sumida River. That day they caught no fish, but they did find an unusual object in their net, a small golden statue. The simple fishermen did not understand the statue's value, and they actually threw it back into the water. However, even though they moved their boat and threw the statue away many times, the statue kept swimming back to their net. In the end, they took the mysterious statue and showed it to their local chief, Hajino Matsuchi. He recognized the statue as Kanon, the goddess of mercy, and together the three men made a small grass hut to enshrine the statue. Later on, Hajino Matsuchi made his own home into a temple for the statue, and this was the start of Sensoji Temple, which you see before you.
Wow.
While Meiji Dori Street was bustling with activity, we were some of the only non-Japanese tourists there. Japan had just opened up to foreign tourism after the pandemic, and we arrived less than 1 month later. We took advantage of all the silly props and photo ops that were scattered around the area. Then we checked out the factory, where they make hyper-realistic foods, well, really just plastic, that sit in the front of cafes around the world. Our next stop was the very first Kura Sushi restaurant, a conveyor belt sushi joint where you order on a virtual console or just pull your sushi right off the belt. They had these awesome murals and kabuki masks on the wall, and even the check-in desk was automated, though we couldn't figure it out and a staff member had to come help us with it anyway.
Respect social distance.
No, it is the baby squid, which is wrong. I am the master predator. I'm going to put a little more soy sauce on top, just in case it's bad. If it's good, I won't put so much soy sauce on top. Look at all these packets of food. Food packets.
It's stock packets, like
Stock packets.
dried sardines. You can get all the different flavors.
Sliced vegetable
What
pickles.
are these?
Beef and vegetable rice.
Alaska pollock and yellowtail
Hot
sausage.
dogs. Everything is in packets. Your whole life could be served in packets.
Back down again. This is the fanciest escalator over.
You know what's kind of fun? Tomorrow we will go on the shortest escalator in the world. It is 2 steps.
No way.
Why was it even put in? I don't know, but I have a link that tells me the answer.
Sad news, we never did find it, but we were able to explore Amayoko Shopping Street that night, which is called the American Market because it was a black market for American goods during World War II. We saw plenty of clothing stores, food, electronics, and jewelry for sale open late, which in Tokyo terms is only about 8 p.m. While there weren't any black market goods that we could see, there was a shop that specialized in vintage Americana and all varieties of patriotic goods, including stuffed pink flamingo masks and everything Texas.
All heads, a horse, a rhino, and a pink flamingo. Pink flamingo being the best. We have made it to America.
In between all the busy urban markets and apartment complexes are a variety of beautiful and well-kept temples and shrines. We love turning a corner and stumbling upon these peaceful, serene little altars to Shinto and Buddhist deities.
Garden trees.
After Mom went to bed, my brother and I ate at Sushi Kikumasa, owned by a husband and wife who told us stories through Google Translate. We stayed at Nui Hostel, which had an amazing breakfast at a really good price. We worked in the morning and then explored their adorable common areas, which include a kitchen and computer lounge.
Laundry room.
Then we set off for the Dawn Avatar Robot Cafe and Akibahara. The employees are not actually robots, but avatars controlled virtually by people with disabilities or who can't leave the house for other reasons.
Cousins of Baymax, I'm sure.
Yes, it does actually.
Using an adaptive controller, they're able to drive the robots around, mix drinks, and crack jokes at your table.
High five. High five. High five.
I will just do water. I will keep water. So no drink. Yeah.
Inspired by a Sophia Nygaard video, we stopped by what is called the creepiest vending machine corner in the world. In addition to the traditional Japanese snacks and drinks found at most vending machines in the city, this spot is unique in that it also has things like canned snails, warnings about climate change, poetry, toys, and random items like old shoes and baseballs. The spot is famous for its mystery boxes, which are inscribed with messages about socialism, loving your neighbor, and sometimes even horror stories or warnings. We purchased what ended up being a very detailed complaint about the local Denny's restaurant and its misleadingly small portion sizes, as well as another box that discussed the war in Ukraine and a potential global kerosene shortage. Many of the vending machines were in disrepair or not working properly, but that just added to the interesting mystique of the area. We stopped to check out one last temple before walking down to Akibahara, the electronics and anime capital of Tokyo. Between the maid cafes, arcades, and stalls full of electronic components, we found toy stores several stories high, packed with anime and gaming memorabilia. Vintage video games and board games of all kinds can be found here, and basically every manga you can think of.
Wow.
That's cool.
As we lined up to eat soba noodles at the oldest soba noodle shop in Akibahara, Kanda Matsuya, 30 people lined up behind us. Apparently we came at the right time. It didn't take long before we were diving back into Electric Town to explore all the interesting vintage electronics and components. In line with its reputation as the Electric City, some booths were fully decorated with neon and string lights, while others were more simple. Stepping into this maze of items felt like stepping back in time. If you needed a part for a ham radio or model train, this was certainly the place to find it.
Companies that are distributors will just like go out of business, and then some other company that has no clue. They're out of business, nothing sold. Just liquidated all on eBay for pennies on the dollar.
Interesting. I was expecting there to be more vending machines and less photos of cute girls.
My brother and I ended up at another tiny restaurant for the second night in a row, this time cleaning off 30 crispy gyoza from Osaka Osho Okonomachi. Usually we would look at reviews, but this place had beautiful fake food displays drawing us in, and we couldn't help ourselves.
That's just wild. That's the egg. It must be gravy of some sort, right?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be egg and gravy.
Which sounds good, to be honest.
It does sound good.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's leave.
That morning, we ate breakfast at a maid cafe, where we received towering parfaits that reminded us of SpongeBob's Triple Gooberberry Sunrise. We worked off the whipped cream and candy on the long walk to the Tokyo Gyoen National Garden and Tokyo Imperial Palace. Despite it being the dead of winter, these gardens, located in the heart of Tokyo, were about as green as you could get. Because we're interested in World War II history, we made sure to check out the controversial Yasukuni Jinja, where a number of Class A war criminals from World War II remain enshrined, though you can't see them. It looks bright and cheery here, but it was only about 40 degrees, cold enough that we could see our breath if we weren't wearing our face masks. Finally, we saw the Imperial Palace itself, which has served as the residential palace of all successive emperors of Japan since 1868. While the Shibuya Scramble may be the busiest and most famous crosswalk in Tokyo, it has a few rivals. As we strolled through Tsukiyabashi Crossing, the towering Tokyo Plaza Ginza reflected the lights off one of the most expensive, elegant, and luxurious city districts in the world. Picking a random restaurant off the map, we ended up at Anagoya Ginza Hirai, a Michelin-starred anago or eel restaurant. Tucked into a dark alley, next to a dumpster and a few bicycles, it was a stark contrast against the bustling, shiny streets. Since we didn't have a reservation, we were told to come back in an hour, and the host was surprised when we actually did. We drank sake infused with eel spine chips, and of course were very excited to try the eel itself. Their soup was served in a paper bowl that surprisingly didn't catch fire despite being directly under open flame. We were so excited the people at the table next to us were oohing and awing with us and ultimately ordered their own.
Made them into little flowers. I think we got some liver. I have no idea the rest.
That night, we stayed at Ryuro Tokyo Kiyosumi, where my brother had a beautiful view of the Sumida River and Kiyosubashi Bridge. This was the last day of our stay in Tokyo, with my brother headed back to LA and my mom and I ready to set off on the Nagasendo. Before we did, though, we stopped at the Chizuki Seafood Market, where we waited over an hour for this man to press us several octopi into a flat pancake. I have to be honest with you, it wasn't that good, but it was worth the experience, and boy did he crank that lever. Thanks for joining us on this first leg of our trip, and watch out for part 2.